Guard me, Sherlock, or Lost Alice maybe later this week. If not, we start with the Letter Roses story. So let's get started and finish it. Again, these will be the full 5-story tickets. So enjoy my horrible voice acting. Dear, already with the intense music. This didn't seem to upset Kanehiro, who eventually pulled it back and spoke up again. Ma'am, may I ask what your name is? I think we'll go with my other OC's name. Kyrie and Momo. So I'm gonna change the names once the story's over. So, but for now, we're just gonna keep using Momo and Kyrie's stories. So here we go. Kyrie Kurana. That's too deep. Kyrie Kurana. Thank you for removing your mask. He eyed me curiously for a moment. Is something the matter? Then almost immediately, an amusing smile casually rose on his lips. No, it's nothing. As I replied, his smile deepened. This area has grown dangerous lately. I fucked up a line. I would hurry home if I were you. His concern sounded heartfelt, and I hesitated to simply brush it off. Sure, I was actually just about to head back to town. I'm glad to hear that. I imagine everyone will worry if you stay out too late. I'll keep watching until you're safely out of the woods. In case a stray dog or two happens to show up. My next thought was, would Kanehiro be safe out here? But he gave me the impression he was done talking. Thank you for your consideration. I hope you make your way home safely too. Thank you, Kyrie. Take care. I politely bowed, then started down the hill. Kanehiro faintly stood there watching me until I was out of sight. Once Momo was gone, Kanehiro began investigating the site where she had trained. A lone throwing star was stuck in one of the trees. As he continued looking, he found faint scars on all of the surrounding tree trunks that spoke clearly of her enthusiasm. He thoughtfully chuckled to himself. Such diligence reminds me a little of my younger brother. His whisper was quietly carried off by the night breeze as he vanished into the forest. Next morning, I awoke to the sight of Nobuyoshi staring back at me. Morning, Momo. Good morning, Nobuyoshi. Don't you think you're a little close? I've been sitting here waiting for you to wake up. There's something I want to ask. He was grinning excitedly. I could only imagine how long he had been staring at me while I slept. Creep, 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 creep. Lately you've been slipping out at night. Why? He had no difficulty asking, and it should have been just as easy for me to answer that I was training. Only I'm too embarrassed, especially since I'm training without throwing stars. Question is, what do I tell him? Here, I'm taking in the fresh air, I'm helping in Mako salon shop. I don't know, because if he goes to Kagura to get info on Momo, then I should take the safest one, which is I'm taking in the fresh air. It's nothing really. I'm just taking in a little fresh air out front. For that long? Apparently he had even noticed the duration of my outings. However, the truth was still too embarrassing to reveal. Well, I've been missing home lately. He sadly smiled as I began weaving another tale. I worry about you being out that late. He quietly left the room without saying another word. My heart was aching, but I had still not been able to admit the truth. Forgive me, Nobuyoshi. Maybe I'll feel comfortable telling you once I'm strong enough to protect you. I would certainly feel more confident following my first successful punishment job. I would simply have to wait until then. Dear. Makoto gave me my first job that very evening. My target would be a weapons merchant who was getting rich off exorbitantly high-priced goods. And apparently several people who had refused his business had ended up dead after he sampled his goods on them. Calling something like that a merchant was quite a stretch if you asked me. Although it was my first time, Makoto told me I would be taking the lead and empathized. He wanted to see what I was capable of. Shintaro would accompany me as backup. Unless your life is in danger, I have to stay out of it. My job is to watch how well you do on your own and report it to my lord. I understand, and I'll do my best not to disappoint you. That's the spirit. Good luck. I'll be hiding nearby. A moment later, he was gone, and I heard footsteps approaching in the distance. I readied my sickle and chain, and could feel the throwing stars I had tucked away in my clothing. Anyone who toys with other people's lives deserves punishment. I took a deep breath just then. A large man emerged from the darkness. He wore an elegant kimono that reeked of influence, and a magnificent-looking sword on his belt. This was definitely my target. What do you want? Oh, that was a good choice. Really? So I should have gone with the other choice? Jeez. Okay. But I feared that he would go to Kagura for info. Let's see. The moment he noticed my angry gaze, the weapons merchant stopped and called out suspiciously. I know about the countless horrible acts you've committed. Tonight, you can consider yourself finished. Don't tell me you're a vigilante. Oh, vigilant. I read it as vigilant, so I think I'll stick with that name. He immediately began to snicker while taking a step back at the same time. Don't be ridiculous. You don't even stand a chance against me with those puny arms. Certainly, from this perspective, I must look rather weak. However, I could use that to my advantage. I chuckled to myself. You think so? Want to try me and find out? I was not going to lose. I charged, and with my lightning speed, managed to close the gap between us in the blink of an eye. Eek! He didn't even have time to draw his sword, however, he had another trick at his disposal. He took a step back and pulled a gun from under his collar. "Don't move or I'll shoot." "I bet you thought you would fight hand-to-hand? Nice try." I quickly drew out a throwing star and flung it at him. Hit his hand and he dropped the gun. He rushed to draw his sword and I countered by pulling out my sickle and chain. I immediately immobilized him with the chain and the blow knocked his sword from his hand. Victory was mine. I then held my sickle up to his neck. "The eyes of justice are upon you. Prepare to meet your fate." Ooh. There we go. My first punishment had gone off without a hitch. As I was straightening out my body and wiped off the blood, Shintaro came running up. "Are you okay, Kairi?" "Nope." "Yep. And not a scratch on me. I hope you weren't too worried." "I gotta ask, you're so dainty. Where in the world did all that strength come from? Your speed and the way you stopped him with your chain was impressive. Your use of that throwing star was fantastic." Ooh. Comment from Shintaro. Okay, 2 more story tickets and then I'm done with this video. To be honest, I was expecting since you're new, but I doubt many people can match those moves. I was so surprised and overwhelmed by his unbridled praise that I couldn't stop myself from grinning. Phew. I suppose this means I passed the test. I took a deep breath, then placed my hand over the throwing stars tucked inside my clothes. Explain how I learned to throw it from Nobuyoshi. I think that's a safer choice. Tell them about my late night training. Actually, I've been practicing night after night with the throwing stars. Well, Toshi and Shoshiro watched over the Shogun for me. So you're working as his bodyguard and training too? That's really industrious. Shintaro appeared quite impressed. And you learned how to throw like that here in Nagasaki? I'm scared of blinds! In Nagasaki, huh? What an amazing feat. Nobuyoshi taught me. Wow, he's both a scholar and a fighter, isn't he? You better make sure and thank him when you have a chance. I caught the point of Shintaro was trying to make, but felt proud to hear him praising Nobuyoshi. I struggled not to grin as Shintaro and I started back toward Miko Salon. Shintaro was handling the report to Makoto. I returned directly to my room. It was almost dawn, and yet there was a lantern burning inside. Surprised, I opened the door to find Nobuyoshi sitting on his futon, reading a book. "Nobuyoshi? You're still awake? I've been waiting for you to return. When I heard tonight was your first job, I couldn't sleep." He set down his book and came over to join me, brushing the dust from my clothes. It startled me to have the Shogun perform such an act. "You don't have to do that, Nobuyoshi. Why don't you slip into bed?" "I'm happy to do it. It looks like you're in one piece. So how was it?" Shintaro was full of praise and he seemed quite impressed. "Oh yeah? Nice going, Momo. I knew you would succeed." I saw his smile. I knew it was time to tell him my secret. "The truth is, ever since you taught me how to use throwing stars, I've been practicing alone up in the hills. For some reason, though, I was too embarrassed to say anything. That's why I had such a hard time answering your question earlier. I hope you can forgive me." And thanks to what you taught me, all of my training paid off this evening. Nobuyoshi kindly patted my head several times as I appreciatively bowed. I've always considered myself diligent, but it seems you're even more diligent than I am. It takes determination to slip out and practice every night like that. I must say, my appreciation of you is growing, as is my trust. Thank you, Nobuyoshi. You're too kind. I feel blessed just to be your bodyguard. I humbly bowed again, and he gave me a pat on the shoulder. And the numbness on my hand and arm is starting to hurt. Ah! You've done good work so far, Momo. Bravo. Oh, a sweet appreciation. And here's the preview, which I used to read, but I got used to reading the outros of each episode or each episode, because this is a story ticket, so it doesn't have no value in this. I heard Kari was quite a surprise to see in action. Yeah, he's got some real skills, and his agility and intelligence are equally fantastic. He must be good if he's got you praising him like that. Yuzuki, you need to stop by my dojo and practice, or you'll fall behind. Well, it's kind of true, but I hated Yuzuki. Oh, I should have gone with the other option. Dang it. Okay. Other option. Oh, it's the final story ticket. Finally. Oh, and it's chapter 5 of Nobu's story. One evening, several nights after my first job, the vigilance, the Shinsengumi, and Nobuyoshi all gathered in Makoto's room. Makoto wore a grim look as he stared back at us. Requests for Shinsengumi. I forgot how that I always went with his last name. Shinsengumi to be punished and continue to pour it. Saga says they're increasing every day. People know they can make a request by quietly leaving a message as one of the tiny local shrines. Himuro Shrine, where Sagi is head priest, runs it, and he stops by regularly to collect messages. It sounds like the people of Nagasaki detest him as much as I do. Now I can avenge my brother's killer. Makoto's grim look did nothing to diminish my secret joy. However, he is still involved in some critical trade deals, so the shogunate won't permit him to be punished. All the vigilants immediately voiced their disappointment. Sounded like this discussion had come up before. It's frustrating that so many people are suffering, and yet we can't do anything to help. I angrily bit my lip. Hold on a second, Makoto. Nobuyoshi loudly interrupted the conversation. Having been in Edo until just recently, I had no idea we were entrusting our trade to such an inhuman ruffian. I've met the man. Don't like him one bit. He made no attempt to hide his disgust. He must have had strong memories of it. That day, he saved the boy and his dog. As shogun and leader of this country, it embarrasses me to admit, we've paid enough. We've paid even a cent of our precious citizens' money to that man. Please, for the sake of those dear, precious citizens, punish this man. I beg of you, or I beg you. Screwed. Let's get on the line. And I love the shocked reactions of these men. Even my Kagura and MC's Ed. dear, the shock. Oh. We even got the shocked faces of everybody. Damn. We were all startled as Nobuyoshi pleadingly bowed his head. There's the smiles and discomfort. Please raise your head, Shogun. We cannot refuse a request from you. When Nobuyoshi heard Makoto's embarrassed reply, he looked up and smiled. You'll do it? You'll punish him? That was a marvelous speech, Shogun. And as a commissioner, I must say it was quite rousing. Mikio excitedly spoke up, and the others were all quick to nod in agreement. Indeed, this is the true meaning of justice, isn't it? Thank you for the valuable reminder. No kidding. I'm surely filled with a strong desire to help our fellow citizens. Oh yeah? Well, I'm glad to hear that. In which case, I have one more request. What might that be? I'd like his punishment to be carried out by Kairi. Me? Uh-oh. What'd you do? No! The reaction of MC's face. Love it! Okay, well, that was a full 5-star tickets, everyone. Wasted almost 22 minutes with this. Woo! This was a roller coaster. Dear. Okay, well, I enjoyed this, but if I can't get to Guard Me Sherlock or Los Alice the rest of this week, I'm going back to Blood and Roses next week on Monday, so bye for now, Shower Date fans. Dear, the shocked faces. Okay. Well, I had my fun, so. Dang it. Stop. Bye.